Hi guys, so for this assignment, we're going to finish off our Busy Bee animation by putting in motion. Um, Hopefully your Busy Bee is flying through the guideline, moving its wings and antennas and make a loop around. Okay, so now we're going to make all the flowers visible. Just click onto the eye icon. Also make sure that it's not locked anymore. And click onto the drop-down menu to see all the flowers. You should have 11 flowers on your screen. Okay, so I'm going to click onto the first flower and you'll notice one of the layer will highlight automatically. That means that layer contains this flower. So my flower number 1 will, oops, let me actually remove this, I forgot. So I'm going to make this flower slowly appear as my bee dive into this loop right over here. So I'm going to click onto that position and give insert keyframe. Okay, and it's going to start out very small. So I'm going to use my free transform tool and Control Shift key to make it smaller or larger in some cases in while having it center in place. Okay, and for the last keyframe, I want to slightly rotate the flower. And right now it's only showing what's in the keyframe. So the keyframe number 1 will show you the smallest flower, and then it ends with a bigger flower. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click, and you can see that it only highlights in between the keyframes, right? And we're going to click we're going to right click on our mouse and we're going to create classic tween. So you'll notice that it automatically highlights into purple, and you'll see the arrow pointing from the first keyframe to the last keyframe, just like how we did with the Busy Bee. Okay, so you'll see that as the bee moves, the flower is rotating and getting bigger, right? Okay, so the next flower, let's click onto the second flower. That's flower number 2. I want it to start appearing over here. Make sure you're on the right layer. Give it a keyframe. And then as the bee moves around, I want it to bloom over here. Okay, so I'm going to click, give a keyframe. Okay. And then it will start out very small. So I'm going to shift control, make it very tiny. And the final one should rotate a little. And double click, right click, classic motion tween. Now it's starting out small and getting bigger as it's rotating. And you can do this all at the end. But what we need to do is we need to remove this keyframe because it shows the full-sized flower. So we're going to just clear keyframe over there. Oops, actually, let's just delete the flower. And you'll see that it's gone. Now it's appearing over here. And then the bee is going to dive in. And as it's moving towards the third flower, which is on flower underscore 3. That's my layer. I'm going to make a keyframe over there. And as the bee moves about here, I'm going to make it bloom fully. So I'm going to give it a keyframe again. And this is going to be very small, starting out very small. And then the final flower should rotate a little. Double click. Classic motion tween. And then rotating, right? And as it's moving, don't forget to change the animation for the fourth one. I want to say fourth, but that's actually my 11th flower. You know what? We can actually move around the flowers the way we want it. So we can do this. Right. Okay. So let's work on this 11th flower. Going to start maybe from here. I'm going to click, give it a keyframe. As it's moving, maybe around here, it should bloom full. Whoa. It should bloom fully over here. Make sure you're clicking onto the right layer. Insert keyframe. I'm going to make this very tiny. And it will bloom while it's rotating. Double click, right click, create motion tween. Right? Okay. So it's moving. Don't worry if you see the full flower over here, it's because we haven't erased the flower over here that shows. Okay, so now it's gone. Now you can see that it's appearing, and I want the blue flower to start blooming over here while my bee is positioned here. Click on it. Okay, now that's my flower 4. Give it a keyframe. Maybe around here it will bloom. Keyframe, right? And then we're going to make this, oops, really small. And the last flower should rotate. Double click. Classic motion tween, right? So from here, it's going to rotate. And then I'm going to make this flower bloom. That's my flower number 6. Keyframe. Maybe over here. Keyframe. Now we're going to make this one really small. Maybe around here, we can make this guy, flower number 8. Insert keyframe, rotate, and insert keyframe. Make it tiny, double click. Passing motion tween. And then let's make this yellow flower here, flower number 5. Insert the keyframe. Oh, you notice that my center is not in the center. So if that's how it is, you'll see that if I want to move it around, well, it's okay for this case, but you see the rotation, it's centered here, so that's not going to work. All right, so I'm going to move it. Make sure that you're on the free transform tool to move the center. The center of the flower. Okay, so now I'm going to make this flower bloom when I'm all the way over here. So keyframe. Make it tiny. Double click. Oh, I think my flower shifted. Did it? Oh, never mind. Okay, so my flower is getting bigger. I'm actually going to rotate this. Okay, so my flower number 7 should start moving around there and then bloom all the way here. Keyframe. Make it smaller. Rotate. Double click. Plastic motion tween. And then as it's touching the 9th flower, although that's my 10th flower, I'm going to create the the keyframe. And then when it's reaching to the last layer, oops, well, let's not do that. Oh, all the flowers are in less frames. So I'm just going to insert more frames over there. All right. To find my layer, that's my 9th. And when it's reaching at the end of the loop, I'm going to make it bloom fully and also to rotate. This would be very tiny. Double click, classic tween. And my last one over here, my 10th flower, should bloom maybe from here. 10th flower, or the 11th flower actually. Keyframe. At the end, another keyframe. Give it a rotation. The first keyframe, starting out really small. Double click. Create classic tween. Okay. Make sure you erase the very first flowers. So we start with new flowers showing, except for this one. Actually, let me make keyframe over here. And then maybe we can delete this one. Okay, let's see how that looks. There we go. All right, so that's the flower motion plus the bee following the guideline. Now we want to include the background, right? So control minus or command minus to see the whole thing. What we can do is we can go up on the menu, and on the menu you'll find File, Edit, View, and then there's Insert. If you click on that, oops. Oh, actually, sorry guys. Let's make another layer that will be on the very bottom, and I'm going to name this background. Okay, that's going to be my background, and we're going to oh, sorry. Okay, so after making the background layer, make sure that it's highlighted so we are on that layer. Go to File, Import, and import to library. And choose the background, sky background, open. And you'll see that nothing really happens. Your photo is actually in the library. So if you look at the panels on the right, there's assets, properties, color, align, and library. Okay, and you kind of have to find the file that you just imported. So mine is sky background, and when you click on it, you'll see that the preview will show on this window. Now we're going to drag it to our main screen, and we're going to make it fit to this frame. So you'll see that it's slightly shorter. So I'm just going to drag it. I had to click on Alt key to make sure that only this side stretches out. Okay, so I'm gonna click Control plus to make it bigger, and you can see that it's nice, nice fit over there. Okay, so when I play it, it will now have the background while creating that animation. Okay, so when we export this as GIF file, we can go to File, Export. You can go to Export Animated GIF. And once you do that, this file will have the bee moving around following the guide, but you will not actually see the green guide. So that's it. If you want to see the example, it should be attached on Google Classroom. And also the background, which is a sky, is also attached on Google Classroom. So let me know if you have any questions.